Prince of Persia: The Forgotten Sands is set after the events of the Sands of Time, and even though it's coming out roughly the same time as the recent movie, it really has nothing to do with it.
Malik was sent here so the army would have a strong commander to discourage attacks. But even Malik's famed strength could not discourage everyone.
The entire game sees the prince chasing after his brother Malik.
Are you all right?
Yes!
To reconnect the two sides of a medallion and send hordes of sand creatures back from whence they came. Unfortunately, these two guys just can't seem to get it together. Might have something to do with the 3 million poles and swinging blades between them at all times.
Eventually, the power of the medallion corrupts Malik, and it's up to the prince to stop him. Hex, being a bit of a fan of the prince, I was quite looking forward to this, especially as the last game, formerly known as the Prince of Persia, may have looked amazing, but it was so super easy, it got boring very fast.
Yeah, it had its moments, Bajo, but Forgotten Sands will give fans of the series a few nostalgic memories. Right off the bat, you're given the ability to rewind time, which will allow you to correct all those moments when you jumped when you shouldn't have, or slashed when you should have rolled.
This rewind feature also makes you take more risks when you're leaping about the place, and you really get your groove on at times. As you progress through the game's endless traps, you start to wonder what on earth they're doing here in the first place.
Who builds these things?
Only to have the prince's brother Malik come up with some weak excuse about activating the palace defenses.
You must be careful. I started the palace's defense system. There are traps everywhere.
I noticed.
Yeah, pretty impractical defenses, really. I mean, just build a bigger wall or something. Also, there has to be an easier way to get through this building than all this random leaping and jumping. I mean, I know we're poking fun a bit here, but it just doesn't sit well with the simple plot and storyline. It ends up becoming a series of rooms with random jumping puzzles and the odd encounter with sandy goons.
After such great action-adventure games like Uncharted 2 and Assassin's Creed and God of War 3 and even God of War 2, this game just doesn't really compete on any level.
Yeah, the combat is a bit button-mashy in a Fable 2 kind of way. Holding attack does a more powerful slash, and now and then you'll go into a close combat move. Jumping on the heads of goons or knocking them down like bowling pins is okay, but there's not much depth to it, which ends up making it more of a chore. And the powers you gain over the course of the game, whilst effective, aren't that much fun to use or look at.
I had an issue with all the boss fights, Hex, except for the last one, which is rubbish anyway. They're all the same with just a different skin on them, and you spend all your time attacking their feet, which isn't fun for me and isn't fun for the boss, and it's just a lazy way to have a boss fight, and it would not happen like that in real life.
Yeah, and there was this one where you knock his sword out of his hand so he jumps away, then you spend 20 minutes climbing up to where he's jumped to, and then the douchebag jumps back down to where you were. I mean, why would they do that?
What a massive tool.
Having said all that, the game does a good job of teaching you how to use all the special powers that you gain, though. Aside from the power to turn back time, you can freeze water, blink into enemies to jump long distances, and reveal memory platforms. As you go, all of these devices get piled on top of each other until you get to some areas that require you to do some pretty quick controller finagling to get from point A to point B. I know this is primarily a jumping puzzle game, and the platforming is interesting for the most part, but it just feels purposefully repetitive.
Yeah, especially the freezing water. I felt by the end of the game, I was being punished to still have to freeze everything just to get around the place. And you know, if you look at games like Darksiders, the way they give you a new ability like a grapple, you know, it might let you into a new area, or it's a shortcut, and you might have some challenge associated with that, but it's not milk to the point of annoyance. Here, when you get one of these new platform abilities, you still do get that challenge, but it doesn't feel rewarding. The game just makes you its bitch by layering all possible combinations of these platforming abilities over and over again on rinse and repeat.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been okay to do this if there'd been more interesting combat or different locations to break it up, but all the game is just relentless swinging blades and flowing water.
Hex, I did quite happily play this game in one sitting, and it's not that long, but I did find some joy in the puzzle platforming. It just could have been so much better.
But at least the camera control was excellent for once. It feels a bit stubborn at first when it doesn't let you look up and around enough, but once you realise that it's always pointing you in the direction you need to go, you actually start to like that after a while.
The gameplay is consistent, and there is some decent puzzles in there, but I just came away from this feeling like I hadn't really accomplished anything, and there's just such better options out there without looking too hard, so I'm giving this 6 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Yeah, it's a 6 from me too. And by the end, I kind of enjoyed watching him get hit by those giant swinging logs.